and see that red subscribe button, go ahead and click it now. I really and truly appreciate your support. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shannon Confidential. I am Shannon, your host. And Shannon Confidential is a podcast about life, love, and everything in between. And in our world, there's a lot of in between, especially when it comes to different cultures. We are a melting pot of so many different cultures, especially where I used to be in South Florida. And a lot of that is just not understanding everybody's culture, whether it's someone coming here to America or being here in America, not understanding those people coming in. And today we have Dr. Abby Hamilton, and she's an author, a 2-time TEDx speaker. She speaks at events, and she has done extensive research on the Filipino culture and the assertiveness and the biasness and everything that goes along with it. And I'm really looking forward to this because we can all learn so much from each other if we just pay attention. So I'm really looking forward to what Dr. Abby Hamilton has to say. And she is up next. Everybody, here is Dr. Abby. I am so excited to introduce you and to just jump right in and learn all about these cultural things because this stuff just, oh, I'm so interested. So Dr. Abby, welcome to Shannon Confidential.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This is so exciting for me.
Oh my gosh, I have so many questions. Now, I'm going to just let you take the floor for a little bit. Tell everybody who you are, what you do, how you came to where you are right now. And then we'll just dive into your book, your TEDx Talks, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So hi, everyone. I am Dr. Abby. I'm a Filipino-American, second generation of Filipino-American. And that means my parents came here from the Philippines, and I was born in New York, raised here in Tampa, Florida. And with that, my parents only knew a certain way to raise me, the way that they learned in the Philippines. So then you raise a child here in the States with that other kind of culture, something happens as a result. And there are so many thousands of us here in the States who are in this situation where we're trying to navigate like what we learned from our parents and then how we need to live to be successful here. And let's see, I have a husband of 27 years, 3 children who are in their 20s, which is cool to talk about too because of who they become as the children of me. So they're third generation. And then, so I am currently a public speaker, a communications coach, and also I'm a director of student services at a university, helping our students find jobs. So constantly talking to people about how to find their value, find their voice when they're looking for that job, interviewing and trying to prove to people why they should be chosen. I have loved my journey the past few years because I did my PhD and it ended in my dissertation, which was a study on how much we hold on to our Filipino values and norms keeps us from being assertive. And at first we always wondered, but now after I did the research on 500 Filipino Americans, it proves it. It's a fact now. And with that, it was so funny. I had this Zoom meeting where I told everybody the results of my study. And I said, do not let this fall on deaf ears. We must make a change. And they said, Dr. Abby, what should we do? And I felt like, oh my goodness, I don't know. I felt like Moses, they were saying, lead us across the sea. And I had to figure it out. So I figured I have this new role to tell people how to speak up because a lot of us don't want to because we think that it's mean and rude and ugly. And we'd rather just be quiet and keep the peace and keep the harmony. And I've been able to now speak about the beauty of assertiveness, which is the title of my first TEDx talk, and also then write my book, which lays out all the different Filipino values that we grew up with that we didn't even know were textbook. They have titles, names to them, and I talk about the Filipino experience, the things that we navigate in this society. And let me just do a little side note here. It's not just for Filipino Americans. You would not believe the people who come up to me who say, I grew up in a conservative Christian household or a strict military household, or I'm from Spain and we have same culture, Indian cultures, a lot of the Asian cultures, even just growing up in a small town caused a certain household a certain environment to result in a child who now has trouble speaking up. So all of these values are so important for so many of us.
I 100% agree. This is, and I love this. This is the very first time I've done a podcast that's about any type of cultural differences. And me, originally, I'm in Tennessee now, but originally I'm from South Florida, where you couldn't get more cultures on one block.
That's true.
And, you talk about assertiveness and not coming across as rude. And what we don't realize when I say we, I'm American, is that there are other cultures where that type of speaking up that a lot of us do naturally is frowned upon for various reasons. And so I always found that, all of us just need to take a pause back, because what we do so naturally is very, very difficult for some people, even difficult people there's American people that have a hard time speaking up and being assertive and not coming across as rude. And I'm just going to throw this out there. Most of the time, if you're assertive as a woman, period, regardless of your culture, you're going to be the bitch, or you're nasty, or you're unapproachable. But if some man is assertive and stands his ground, he's strong and powerful. So there's that whole other aspect to it. So when you're doing this whole thing with the Filipino culture, I was so excited, because you don't know what you don't know until you realize you don't know it.
Right.
And I had no idea that the Filipino culture had these certain cultural differences that made it harder here as living in America. And I couldn't wait to dive into that with you. So just going back a little bit of what you said, you were on a Zoom call and you were saying, we have to stop this, trying to rally the troops. Is that the call that said, okay, I have to step in? Is that what led to the book, the TED Talks, and where you are today?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you do your doctorate, you're like, okay, I'm going to do all my courses and I'm going to do my dissertation at the end. And you're like, there you go. Like, I'm done. And then when that person said that, and everyone was nodding their head on that Zoom, just saying, yes, I mean, there were lawyers, CFOs, there were doctors, there were all these educated people, and they're like, Dr. Abby, tell us. And I just looked at their faces like, oh my goodness, there really is no one. I mean, if there
was a disconnect.
Yeah, and there's no one out there that they could say, yeah, we watched the Filipino Tony Robbins, and he or she has told us what to do. There is no one out there, there's no one there that looks like this, that is saying, speak up. This is what your culture is. And I mean, you said, you don't know what you don't know. I just want to go to the moment. I was reading all about it. There's a book by Dr. Kevin Nadal called Filipino-American Psychology. And I'm reading, and as I read, I all of a sudden, I'm like, this is how my mom is. And I thought that was just my mom, the way my mom was, right? Like, the one of the titles
quiet
of
or reserved.
So one of them is called Utang na Loob, which is Filipino for debt of the inside. And really, it's like there's a sense of obligation. For example, if your uncle one time got you a job or something, later on your uncle asks you to do something, there is no such thing as no. You owe everything there, and you're held captive, you're held prisoner to that obligation to do something for them because they once did something for you, and it's a given, to the point where now we feel trapped and we don't know how to speak up because we're like, I can't say no. I can't.
So this obligation, just to ask you, they get you a job and now you have this debt to pay. Is it equal debt, or is it anything they ask for?
It's practically like an unwritten rule that it's anything, and it's in a lot of cultures. I actually have, a lot of cultures, they have that, like, you owe this to me. I gave birth to you. I drove you to school. And so it's like, you don't say no to a parent. You don't say no to anyone That's why I was
Growing up
like,
in a world where your kids said no, it sounds kind of nice a little bit.
yeah, I know,
I
right?
just, that's a little tongue in cheek, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's think too. The image that parents have of the perfect well-behaved child. The well-behaved child is obedient. Obey right away, right? Obey right
right.
away. Stay quiet and don't speak until you're spoken to. Uh, don't oppose any idea that an authority figure or elder says to you, even if it's wrong. Do not tell me. Do not tell me what I'm doing is wrong. It's like to the point where, I mean, as you know, as a Filipino child, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, they're doing it wrong.
She can't say
Just let them do
anything.
it wrong. Don't say anything. Just go along with it. And then you just watch everything fall apart. But in that, and so to cross over, you have to remind yourself that, hey, guess what? You have a brain. You are smart. Your thoughts and ideas are valuable, and they're valuable when you know that they're going to accomplish the goal that everyone else is also set on. So, for example, if your boss wanted to save money on a project, and you're like, I know that we could save money if we use this other vendor, you you feel conflicted because you're like, I shouldn't tell my boss what to do, but then you're like, I know he said he wanted to save money, so I'm gonna go ahead and tell him, you know, and he might think that this is defiant in some way, but I'm gonna say something, and in the end, it's not because you disrespect him, it's because you want to accomplish the goal that he also had. It's huge. It's huge. And maybe a boss or an elder, an authority figure or an elder might look at you at first and just say, "What? What are you saying to me?" And then if they can get past that, they could say, "You know what? I want to save money. This is a good point." And then it happens. But so many of us don't even get to that point because we don't even try. So we need
Yes, and
to.
you have it's like a double layer of a challenge because that's in your culture not to say anything. Some people hesitate because, just maybe they're just not really strong and comfortable speaking up, or they're afraid that their boss is going to then, even if they're saying something good like saving money,
Right.
would see it as something derogatory at them. But you're on top of that. In your culture, you're told, it almost seems like it's driven into you, do not
Mm, do
question
not.
it. So you
Yeah.
have to, you almost have to come out of it twofold.
Yes. Like we're like what I say in my TED talk is I wanted to be a good employee. And so to be a good employee, you do what you're told. You obey. And then to say something would mean I would be choosing not to be a good person. Right? The definition of a good person is to obey and comply and never oppose, never confront authority. So am I choosing then to be bad and rebellious? And here's the thing too. In the Filipino culture, in many Filipino cultures, companies now in the Philippines, I mean, a lot of them are crossing over to be a little bit more modern day. But over there, even still today, many companies will promote you to higher levels if you were the person who never said anything. The quieter you are,
I couldn't believe
you
that when I read that.
yes,
My
yes.
jaw dropped. I thought, oh my gosh,
hmm Yeah.
you
I
get
had a friend
promoted for
who,
being quiet, not for
yes,
bringing
yeah,
up
and
a
this
good
is how
idea,
they
not for
think it.
saving money, just for being,
Right.
boy, that just seems
Because they
so
say,
backwards.
because they say, oh, we should promote Shannon. She never causes any trouble. You see, she's very obedient to the rules and the policies. She complies and she follows the rules and she does her work. Here also we believe, the more you work hard or the harder you work, the better chance you have of getting promoted. But actually in the United States, you also have to make the connections, build the relationships, communicate, and be seen, be more thinking out of the box, more innovative. So,
Which means you
it's
have to speak up for that to happen.
Yes, yes,
Oh my
yes.
gosh. So I have twofold the question. First, and I'm going to keep interrupting you because it's just, I have to say this while I'm thinking of it. So I do
Yeah, yeah.
apologize. Now, when it comes to the Filipino culture, are these rules, or to be quiet, to not be assertive, to not, second guess authority, are they equal between the males and the females?
They are. They are. And the reason I say that with confidence is I had a friend who lived here in California, uh, grew up in the United States, and went to the Philippines and got a job there
Okay.
recently, okay, in the past couple of years, okay. I think he told me this last year. And he said, when something was going wrong, he told everybody, I'm going to tell the bosses just so that we can figure out something to a better
Thank
way
you.
to handle this, right? And you think, hey, listen, I'm focused on the solution. I'm helping to make the company better. And the employees said, don't, don't. You will surely be fired. They said, don't. We care about you. We do not want you to get fired. You will be fired. So it wasn't just, I mean, he's a guy and he's smart, intelligent, skilled, understood his craft, and he made it into that company and made it into a high level in that company. And still, as a man, he would surely be fired, according to those employees.
Are boys raised the same, to not talk back, to
Hmm.
almost be
From my
submissive, or they
experience,
get a little wiggle room?
I have not seen wiggle room.
Okay.
I've seen that it's children, one, two, three, line up, sit down.
Okay.
All of you sit down. Even in my book, I have many, many stories of different men and women in their personal experiences, and I have not seen it different for the men. It might even be more strict for the men, just because they have they're, I don't know, maybe they're more in the spotlight or more on the, not chopping block, but in the training ground. So
Yeah, they're expected to, uphold the family name, the income,
yeah.
so they might have a little more pressure on them.
Mhm. Yeah, you would think. Actually, let me just bring this up. Uh, the Philippines was ruled by Spain for 300 years. So in that time, we took on a lot of the Spanish culture, and the Spanish culture, they have the concept of matriarch. Like the mother is the one in charge of,
Yes.
and then it's like the father will say, well, ask your mother. It's like, I made your dinner, and yes, she still serves, but she's still the mother, the matriarch. So the image, I think, of women versus men from my own experience and study and exposure, it's not different. It's not different where men have more of an advantage.
So where do you cross over to? Where is it, an age? Where does that culture allow you to start speaking up? Because at some point you're going to be the matriarch and you need to find your
Right.
way, and you have to,
In
you have
that
to get there.
culture.
So
Yeah.
how does that evolve?
Well, I think still never done. It's still never done assertively,
Okay.
where it's done in a sense of expectation, like the unspoken rules.
Okay.
So you'll say something, and so it'll be like a mother would be commanding or demanding by her simple, like, you know what I mean? Like the power of a look or a regard for a parent, like you would never do that, and
Okay. Okay.
so as far as asserting, I think that's still there. It's unspoken. As far as crossing over here for Americans, second generation, and for Filipino Americans, it all happens with awareness. And in my book, I talk through, or I've done interviews with people and their stories, and it's been really neat. The time that they felt the confidence to speak up or to feel valuable enough is when someone saw something in them And so even, I can't tell you who, but like Asian CEOs that are here in the United States, many of them will say they got there because someone said, "Hey, have you all ever thought of her as a possibility for CEO?" Story is very common where it's someone else sees it in them. So it could be a soccer coach, it could be an acting teacher, an English teacher, it could be your karate master, that saw something in you, and then all of a sudden you said, "You think I am valuable? I think," and then with that, they were able to assert themselves, like, "I know something about this, so I can tell other people."
Oh my gosh, that's,
Yeah.
some people must think, wow, I'm working so hard and I'm just waiting for someone to notice. And that's got to be so hard
Right.
that you're held back by a cultural difference that doesn't allow you to speak up. And speaking up and being assertive, that has nothing to do with being a nasty person, or
Yes.
that's confidence. And confidence
Right.
is, I just think confidence is amazing. There's a
Yeah.
big difference between confidence and ego. But confidence
Yeah.
is good. You want confidence. I would want to hire
Right.
somebody with confidence. That's for
Right.
sure. So,
Right.
and everybody, you could see the book behind me. And as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Abby has done TEDx Talks. She's a speaker. She's speaking at many events. Everything that she has done and everything socially will be underneath us in the show notes. So you'll be one click away from
Thank you.
everything Dr. Abby is talking about today. That is for sure. But I'd like to ask, so say, I would imagine your book gives suggestions or lessons on how to teach that assertiveness in the workplace.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
In the workplace, in relationships with your friends, in your marriage, in parenting, I mean, just all aspects. It starts with awareness, which we just talked about. Once you recognize that these things are things you grew up with, and then recognizing that there's a gap between what you need for this society and what you were given as a child. So then when you recognize it, it's the skill of saying, "Ooh, this is one of those moments where I think I should speak up. I'm going in. This is happening. I'm going to do it." So then when you're ready to do it, you use some of these techniques that I have, and I can share a few of them.
Sure.
And I will say too, these techniques are important for people who also are on the other side, too aggressive, too toxic, and demanding or commanding in their communication, where they just blurt out. There are three different kinds of communication: passive, assertive, and aggressive. Now, passive is where you just don't say what you want to say. Aggressive is where you just say
Yeah.
whatever you want to say, and you don't care if it hurts anybody's feelings, and you're like, "That's just the way I feel. It's important to be blunt." And it's, leave everyone in your wake, right? And so these assertive ways, let me just say, assertiveness is a way that you could be firm yet still calm and respectful, composed and noble, dignified, professional in the way that you communicate. And it's,
Exactly.
yeah, and still be firm. So you could be sticking it to someone, and your words are still fine. And the way that I speak, I used to always Google like how to speak more demanding, how to speak with a stronger voice. But I realized that this mild way that I speak, I used it when I was a middle school and high school teacher. Those students were taller than I am. I used it to raise my children, who you still have to be firm with. And at some point, my son said to me, my son Christopher said, "You never yell at us. I just wish one day you would just just belt it out and yell at us." And I go, I don't." And then he's like, "No, you don't. It's worse. You say, like, I was really disappointed to see how you behaved in that situation. Or I see this is the kind of person that you've chosen to be, like
Oh, you're not even my mom. And I'm like, oh.
and it's up to me to just understand this is what you are. I mean, my kids are grown-ups now, so
Yeah.
I have to let them be. So, okay. So aggressive people can tone it down with these methods, and then passive people can find the courage. And I will tell you, assertiveness is not easy. It's not. It takes effort. And it's easy to just not say anything, but later on you're going to have to pick up the pieces when you are full of resentment and you hate your relationships and you can't stand your job and your boss and your coworkers because you never took the time and the effort to assert yourself. So one of them is called the repeat button, right? And an old name of this is called the broken record. And I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but the repeat button goes like this. You say what you're going to say, never change your message, and don't escalate your tone. Okay. And I'll put this one out there for the Filipinos, but I'm sure a lot of you will have your similar situations. Ready? Tita means auntie. So all the toxic titas, and everyone is a tita in the Filipino culture. So you'd be like, hi, Tita Shan, and you would be my Tita Shannon, even though we're not related. Okay. So toxic titas come up to you and they say, oh, Abigail, you are so healthy. Or you have gained weight. Oh, since the last time I saw you. And you're like,
Thanks.
okay, yeah, thanks. And I used to always say, thank you. And then I would go into my room and I would just cry.
Yeah.
But so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be respectful, but I'm going to be firm and say what I want to say. Then I say, please don't say that to me, Tita. It makes me feel very uncomfortable. So then she'll say, oh, Abigail, you are so sensitive. Healthy is a good thing. I wish I were healthy like you. Except, look, I'm just skin and bones. And you're like, you
Thanks.
want to say, no, I know you're just trying to tell me that I'm fat and that I gained weight and you know that it doesn't look good, and you're being mean. And now there are a lot of people out there who are like, you're fat shaming. That's a thing. You're body shaming, you're fat shaming, and they're so angry about it. But instead I say, please don't say that to me, Tita. It makes me feel very uncomfortable.
Okay, I see
And
where you're
she's
going.
like, oh, I'm not doing anything wrong. Listen to Abigail. She is so sensitive, and I'm like, Tita, please don't say that to me. It just makes me feel very uncomfortable. And then at some point she'll be like, if I say another thing, she's gonna say the same thing. So I don't want to hear that again. So she'll just stop.
Okay.
Then
That,
maybe,
I,
and the
I like
next
that.
time, yeah. And the next time she sees me, she's gonna go, oh, Abigail. Abigail doesn't like me to say that she's healthy, and then she'll stop herself because she knows she's about to hear
Yeah.
the same thing.
Okay.
So, yeah, this, and I mean, I helped someone one time break up with a girlfriend with the same thing. Like, this isn't gonna work. And then she could have gone into the whole, you're not being fair. You're not even giving us a chance. How dare you be so inconsiderate? And you want to go fight when you hear those things, but you just say, this isn't going to work. We need to end this. And then they'll say, you're so mean and you're just thinking about yourself, whatever. And you just say, this isn't going to work. I'm going to end this. And you would not believe did you ever get rude? No. Mean, ugly? No. And then afterwards, you feel so powerful because you never lost it. You never lost your composure, and you feel so good because you got your message across. You might have to say it like 8 times,
Yeah,
but
wow.
stick to the system and believe in it, and it will really work. I mean, same with coworkers, bosses, parents, parents, spouses, friends. Like, seriously, dude, I can't believe you work at McDonald's. Like,
Yeah.
please don't say that. Please don't say that. This is my job. And then it's like, yo, why are you so sensitive? It just, you could
Yeah.
use it in so many situations. And in the end, you're also showing that person, hey, listen, you're disrespecting me. You're offending me in this moment. And then over time, You feel like, I feel cool with Shannon because I was able to express to her how I felt about something, and she responded. And so we're cool with each other.
I like
And
that.
now in the future, I don't have to feel trapped whenever she's going to say something else to me.
And most
So,
likely I wouldn't. Lesson learned real quick on that one.
yeah, and it wasn't like, oh my gosh, we had to get in a whole big argument because I told her that she was healthy. It was not
Yeah.
that. It was just sharing how I feel. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. I like that
Yeah.
technique.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And in the book, I give lots of examples so that you can understand. I mean, parents who have to be strict with their children, like you're not going to the movies with your friends. You're so unfair. You hate me, mom. You're not going to be going to the movies with your friends tonight. And it's like everyone else it's not like it's not like you lose it and you say, are you everyone else? Would you, what is
Yeah.
it? Would you jump off a cliff if everyone else jumped off
I
a
heard
cliff?
that one. That one I heard all the
Yeah.
time.
No, you just say, listen, and that's what I did with my children. Listen,
Okay.
you're not going to the movies with your friends tonight. Not this time. The end. Yeah.
Wow.
I love it.
That's very, very powerful. And that's called the broken record.
It's called the broken record. In the old days. I changed it in my book. I called it the repeat button because there is no broken record except like these days. Broken record is like with how many push-ups you could do. Breaking someone's record because they
Okay, I
don't know
see.
what records
I
are.
see where you're going
So
with that.
yeah, repeat button. Yeah.
So now you're brought up within the Filipino culture. You know it very deeply. Now you're learning how to express yourself and be assertive in different techniques outside the home.
Yes.
Did you have to play two roles?
Two roles,
Meaning
meaning
when you came back home, did you have to go back to your cultural ways and lose the assertiveness that you had developed at work to then maintain respect in your home?
No.
Okay.
Because I want to remain this mild mannered person wherever I am because that's the way that I am. It's so cool because I can stay mild mannered and do this new thing. So, with my mother, with my husband, with my children, and even one of the biggest ones was in the Filipino community where they still saw me as little Abigail. And I'm an executive officer on the board of the Filipino Association. So
Okay.
now, if I say something, there's a new respect for me because I'll say something like, I know that we are all focused on the safety of everyone during this pandemic. And so I'll say something like, and for that reason, in this one situation, the COVID was still on the rise and they were planning on having a big event. And I was like, oh my goodness, a big event. So I still asserted myself and said, let the record show that I am opposed to this. And someone said, believe me, we're going to be very strict about masks at this event. It will be mask required. And so people will be safe. And I even said, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't this meeting also masks required? And it's so funny because you saw all these people like slowly put their masks on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was just saying, isn't this the kind of organization we want to be? Responsible? I know you all want to be responsible. And I shared my piece. That was a big deal for me because I will tell you this, I was the only one who opposed. They, after the event, after that meeting, I got different messages from people who were like, I know what you mean now because I've just had a friend diagnosed. I've just had a relative pass away and I wasn't taking it as seriously as I should have. So thank you for pointing that out and being a voice of reason in this, at the meeting, even though it didn't go your way. And so I had to be okay with the fact that I was opposing everyone. But now, with time, people have looked at me as this voice of reason. They
Okay.
understand that I'm focused on, they respect me now. And it helps that I have two initials in front of my name now because it's like they'll call me Dr. Abby, which is feels very strange because that many of them are my elders, but they've been listening to my wisdom on YouTube, my TED Talks, and they see that I have a voice now, and I did it before. I didn't.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that there's no real problem because I'm staying consistent with me and my normal behavior. I will tell you this: my husband now knows when I bring up stuff that I didn't mention, that I didn't like. I'll be a little bit more forceful now when I want to watch something on TV that's not what he wants to watch, and he'll be like, okay, all right, this is happening, and
Look
he'll
who's speaking up now.
yeah. But it's so cool. Like one time, I really went into, I forgot what it was, but I went in and I was like, we need to have this conversation, because this is how I feel, and I don't know if this is how you intended, and I don't want to just hide it. And after that, we kind of had it out. He said his part, I said my part, and at the end, I felt like so much closer to him. And we've been married
Yeah.
27 years, and we have this new level of feeling like
Communication.
we could conquer the world. We can
Yeah.
do anything together now because we can have that ugly back and forth and then be like, okay,
Right.
okay. Yeah, it's so
Done.
neat. I feel
know.
like, yeah, we could do, yeah, we're free and we can do so much together now.
I love that. One thing that you said, when you were, referring back to being in the Philippines and you have the two initials before your name now, is that something that, let's just say you weren't on the board and they didn't know you did TED Talks and you were a speaker and you are what you are here in the States. Would you get more respect because you had those initials, you had that title over, say, another Filipino woman just coming back?
Yeah. So just a correction. I never lived there.
Okay.
I
We'll
never
go
lived there.
back
I
to,
was, yeah, I
being
was
part of the
raised.
culture. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Initials in the Filipino culture, initials get you a lot more respect immediately.
Male or
Oh,
female, just
yeah.
okay.
Male or female. Yeah. And yeah. Oh, a doctor, and no wonder no wonder you're so smart, they would say, because you have those initials. Or, oh, I didn't know I was talking to a doctor. Now, recently someone, because I'm a PhD, recently someone had a little problem with the fact that I have doctor in front of my name because I'm a PhD, not a medical doctor.
Okay.
And I asserted myself because I said a PhD is a doctorate, so I'm a doctor. And if people want to because they said people might misunderstand and think you're a medical doctor, and I was like, if they do, that's on them, because I know that I earned this doctorate degree. And I, being an industrial organizational psychologist, which is what my doctorate was in, I can practice in in coaching and consulting with clients. And then also I work in education, in higher education at a university. So in the university setting, all the PhDs are called doctor.
You say you had, you have these different processes or skills or suggestions to help you be assertive or help you speak better. How did you come up with them?
Oh, so I did a lot of research. I read books, I watched videos, I listened to seminars, and all of them they are they are tried and true. They've been out there in psychology, in therapy, in consultants. They've all been out there, but I put my little spin on them. Like one of them is, yeah, have you ever heard people say use your I messages, right? Like, I feel this way. So the thing is, I've been told that before, but I like this. I've made my own spin on it, which is called the magical mirror method, which means you hold up a mirror. You imagine a mirror that you're looking at, and in a situation when your friend's over here or someone's being mean to you or whatever, you hold up a mirror and you look at what you're experiencing. and you look at your face and you say, I am hurt, I am angry, I am sad, right? And that is the message that you should be saying. Because if the mirror is not up here blocking this person, then you go, you are so inconsiderate. You know what I mean? You are, you're so rude, you're so selfish, whatever it is. When you put that up, you see what that is. I am hurt. And then you share that message. When you say I'm hurt by what you've said, then the person isn't going to be on the attack because you haven't just told them that they're mean or they're bad.
Yeah, they say never start a conversation with you or a confrontation with
Correct.
you. Yeah.
Yes. So what the person does is they get to evaluate what they did to cause you to be hurt. Like, what do you mean you're hurt? Like, is it possible that it's not possible that you're actually hurt by what I've just done? And then they can say, well, that's not what I meant. And then I meant to get mad about the traffic. You know what I mean? And not you. So then you can get to a solution better.
I like that. Easier. I like that. I like your techniques.
So I used to teach middle school and high school. So when I taught middle school and high school, I often had to help my students get through, understand their feelings about things, because there's so much conflict that happens in middle school. The poor life of a middle schooler and a teenager, they have to navigate everything. So as I helped them, and I could see that they finally understood it, I think that's where I got the skill to kind of break down where we come from. So in this book, I had to find you where you are and say, in this situation with your friend, you're totally hurt. And you can't believe the things that they've just told you, the words that they've just lashed at you. And so what are you supposed to do in that moment? Pull up your mirror and look at yourself and think, what are you doing? And then that image of that mirror is calming. It gives you real instruction, so that you can see yourself. A lot of people, if I just said, look at yourself and see what you're feeling, you might not think that way. So the little tricks, the tricks help.
I like them. I like them a lot. Now, I do have to ask though, and as soon as I know you had the book and you were, an author, and I looked at the book, what does that mean? Anak.
Oh my goodness, that's right.
I could not. I was like, okay, sometimes it's that tap, sometimes it's not. What does that mean?
Yes. Okay, I'm so glad you asked that. And before I tell you, I'll tell you, if you say these 3 words to a Filipino, the reaction I've gotten is, oh my gosh, goosebumps. Oh my goodness, chills right now.
Okay.
Anak means child, but it means child in my child. So it's like, speak up, my child. But when you hear Anak, you never hear speak up with it. It's always like, be quiet, Anak, just eat your dinner, like do your chores and study for your test, Anak, so it's so, to have those 3 words together makes people feel like, wow, you've just now taken me back to my childhood, and now you're trying to tell me to speak up? No, this is so disconnected at this moment. Like, seeing those 3 words, it's very 3 words together. It's just very triggering, maybe, and also intriguing, because it's like, tell me more. What is this all about?
Yeah, that's a bad sentence. I don't get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's why you have to have the book.
I liked, because was going to be a question. First of all, what did that mean? And how did you come up with the title? But the title in and of itself is describing what's in the book.
Yes. So, and I took a chance with that book. I took a chance with that title, but anyone who understands what it means is who the book is really for. And so it's for Filipino-Americans. So if they see it, they will know it's for them. If I had, speak up world, people might pick it up and it won't be for Filipino Americans. Although I have so many non-Filipinos who will pick it up and they are just like, this, I'm buying. I had this one person, she's Italian. She's like, I am buying one for my sister and my mom for Christmas. This is totally happening because these things are hardcore. They are so.
Yes, your communication skills. I grew up in an Irish Italian family, and put it this way, you had to be assertive. You weren't going to get your words in,
Ah.
but they were also very loud and they yell. And I'm very handsy and I can talk very loud. My voice projects even if I'm just whispering. So I could learn a lot from your book.
Yeah, I spoke to, well, oh, this is related to it. I always thought of myself as weak. When I did my master's in management, I had to do this paper on what's your greatest weakness, and my greatest weakness was the fact that I was sensitive, and I had to do research and study, what it is to be a sensitive leader, and I learned that people who are sensitive are able to have more empathy and are better able to inspire others. And I thought of a person that I worked with who um, who people would never go to. I'm like, why don't you go and talk to her about it because she knows more about the situation. They go, oh no, I would never go to her. And I realized that that person is rough and tough. She's strong. And I love that about her. Actually, it's so funny. She's the one I would go to ask about how do I be more tough in this situation. And I was the person she used to call to say, how do I tone this one down? But what
Okay.
happens is she becomes a person that people wouldn't go to. And I decided I never wanted to be that person who people wouldn't want to go to. I was actually trying really hard to be tougher. And because I couldn't stand how debilitated I was when things would happen that would just break me. Um, and I was like, I'm just going to start being more tough. And then that meant that I was also going to have to be less approachable and less inspiring. And I'm taking the hit. I want to remain inspiring, and I still have that sensitive side of me. But what I'm trying to say though is that there are people like you who are really, I mean, you're just exuding all this confidence and this power and this strength. And there are people like me who look at that and say, "Ooh, I want to be so much like that." There's this, but there's a balance. I think I have too much regard, and regard is such a big Filipino value. So much regard for other people that I have to stay true to myself and find the balance. So that's what assertiveness has been for me is a permission to be firm but still respectful.
I like this. I like this a lot. So did you mention earlier that this is actually your second book?
This is my first book.
Okay.
My dissertation was it's in a
Your
book,
first,
but that's
okay.
just I had it
I see.
bound. It was 125 pages paper that I had to do for my doctorate. I
Okay.
do have a second book that is coming out tomorrow. I'm receiving
Oh,
my
wow.
proof. My proof copy is going to be arriving to my house. I've been tracking it to see when it's arriving. And this book, you remember I told you I taught in Christian
Yes.
schools. My father was a preacher, and I raised my children in a very strong Christian household. My marriage is focused with a God-centered focus. And years ago, I had in the Christian classroom, I used to have little thoughts for the day,
Okay.
and then I'd end with a Bible verse that was related to it, and it was always like really. Sometimes they were cute, sometimes they were funny, sometimes they were really insightful, and they made you think. And then after a while, when I stopped teaching, I went into the work world, and I found that so many people were hungry for this kind of knowledge. So I built an email list of 700 people, and every week I put out a little thought with a Bible verse,
Oh,
and
that's very
people
nice.
would tell me, they would say, I printed this out and gave it to a whole bunch of people.
It
I
arrived at
put
the
it
most
up on my
perfect
bulletin
time.
board.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they said, oh my goodness, this, I can't keep looking up your emails every time a problem happens in my life. Like, can't you put it in a book or something like that? I need to go
Oh,
back. And so that was like in 2014 and 15. And
okay.
all these years I had it in a draft. And so that is coming out. As soon as I get my draft tomorrow, I'm going to, it has, it's going to come in book form to my house.
Oh
And
my
then I'm
God.
going to proof it. I'm going to look at it one last time, make sure it looks like I want it to look. And then my goal is for it to go out officially on my birthday, October 11th, which is next week.
I was going to say it's around the
And
corner.
yes, and it's called,
I was going to say, what's the title?
yes, I know, right? Because it's man shall not live by bread alone, right? And I love
Okay.
bread. So this is it's funny, so too. So it's called Faith, Trust, and Pizza Crust.
I love that's adorable.
And that's how the book is. The book
Okay.
has these little, I talk about, coconut smoothies and umbrellas and cell phone cases because it's like, as I analyze something, like, can I tell you one of them? One of the little stories? Is that okay? Okay.
Absolutely.
So like, I got the cell phone and I wanted a cute cell phone case and I went to my phone wasn't an iPhone. So of course it was hard to find a cell phone case, but I went to all the stores, every single store that sold cell phone cases, the kiosks in the mall, and all I could find was one black one and one brown one. And I wanted something cute, flowers, swirls, or something like that, and there was nothing. And then let's see if I could remember this. And I said, I wonder if that's uh, how God felt when He told. See, I don't remember the guy's name. He told someone, if you
Got
go
it.
back to the city and you find even a few people who believe in me, then I will save the city. And he went back there and he couldn't find enough people to show that people believed in God. And it was like, wow. And then I said, but are you one of these people who knows God, but no one ever really knows that you do? Right? So
Mm.
would you be if oh yeah, he had to find 10 people. So I said, would you be one of the 10 if someone decided to go back to your town, your company, and say, I'm looking for 10 Christians, and then they passed over you because they're like, well, she's not, then are you doing what you wanted to do to shine for the Lord? You know what I mean? And what can you do? And are you okay with the fact that you would not be one of the 10? So, so like I start with the story of wanting to find a cell phone case, and I couldn't find even more than two in the whole store. To would you be one of the 10? You see? So
Okay,
it's
I
like
see.
a really neat, like, whoa, that's
It's like a
true.
moment.
Yeah, that's how all of these are. So I
Okay.
love how I catch you off guard because you're like, I'm not one of the 10, or oh my gosh,
Makes you pause and think, that's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So that's how all of these are. I'm so excited because they're the
Yeah.
pause and think kind of things. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, everybody, this book and her and Dr. Abby's next book um, will be available. I can get you hooked up to this book. Hopefully, um, I'll get the link to the next book and I can shoot that out to
Yeah.
everybody because I think that would be really, really enjoyable for a lot of people.
Thank you so much for letting me share about that because
Absolutely.
it's so new. It's literally so new.
Yeah,
So
I'm
you'll be
excited
this.
for you. You have to tell me. Just shoot me an email or a text or something to say,
Yeah,
hey, I
I
loved it.
will.
It's coming up.
Yeah.
What else is next for you? You have this book that's really pretty much hopefully just hours away. What else?
Yes, right. So now what I want to do is, in my book, I spend a lot of time interviewing people to talk about their assertiveness journey. Like I start with like what was like when you were at the dinner table growing up. And then how did you cross over? Then that's where I found out about that one soccer coach, that one acting teacher, or or someone in the college. When they went to college, they joined the Filipino group, and then they found their value, they found their confidence. So now what I'm doing is I am spending time just like you talking to people about their experience because the more we get this out there, we help more. Like once I talk to one person, that person will now spread the same message to all of their friends, and they'll be able to evaluate their personal journey to that person. So I've been interviewing a whole bunch of them, and I am continuing to speak locally here and even online at different conferences and different meetings, different organizations. I'm also sharing content about, there's so much right now with diversity and inclusion. So I'm talking about different concepts like cultural dexterity and unconscious bias, which a lot of people just, they don't know about. They're unconscious. It's unconscious. So they don't know about it, and it's cool to see what we're experiencing. And then just, we really need to just spread this message, because the sooner people start learning how to speak up, the sooner they can start being more free in their lives and not trapped in this prison of just holding it all back. And they can start really feeling the joy in their relationships and closer in their marriages, and
This is much bigger than just work.
Yes.
Your work atmosphere. This is your entire life changing.
Yes, it really, really is. I mean, my mom is 83 as of last week, and she is like,
Mom.
I'm learning so many things already, so late in my life, but these are things that I never knew before. And she even says, I wish I was more assertive with this person and with that person. And if I was, then my whole life would be different right now. That's hard to hear, because she's 83.
Yeah.
So I'm going to a lot of 20, 30-year-olds saying, learn now. Don't wait till you're my age, and it's neat seeing my children now. They're 20, 23, and 25 speak up and really say. I feel like they're more free, especially as I see my children in the workplace. As a new employee, when you first come out of college, you're just you're just engulfed, you're like drowning in everything that's happening to you, but they can break out. Yeah.
That's great. That this is all again, this is why I love speaking to so many people. Everybody's got a positive message. They may have come from something, but they've learned, and then they share how to make it better. You're trying to share how to make cultural differences better, how to make you inside your own culture better. I just love a positive message. I think you're a doll. I think what you're doing is amazing. I think your faith pizza book is just a great, adorable idea. I mean, it just seems like your analogies are going to be so spot on. I just love this message, and I'm honored to have you on the podcast where I can actually help you spread your message.
Thank you so much. This is wonderful. I love your curiosity and your enthusiasm about it. Like, you couldn't stop asking questions. I love that. And I think all of us need to be that way.
Well, thank you very much. And again, thank you for being on Shannon Confidential. This has been one of my faves, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. I want to know that book is good and is going to come out.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Abby.
Thank you.